heroes? All I see are junkyard punks, assorted cyber trash, and a bunch of drunken motorball burnouts too slow to play the game. And, what could I learn from a loudmouth pretty boy who spends all of his money on his face?
Maybe that'll teach you some manners.
You might mess up your hair.
Three centuries after a global disaster known as the Fall, Iron City is now a metropolis just under the floating utopia of Zalem. One day, Dr. Dyson Ito, who is a skilled cybersurgeon, finds the remnants of a destroyed female cyborg as he scans through the trash. He sees that although her body is ruined, her brain remains intact and still alive. So, Ito takes her home to reconstruct her body in his lab. Days later, the cyborg wakes and is disoriented and totally fascinated by her artificial body. But she was still unsteady and at the same time curious. So, she quietly walks down the stairs until she meets with Ito. When he examines her for errors, she speaks her first words as she tells him that she is hungry. In the quiet moment that follows, she realizes that her memory is completely gone. However, Ito gently reassures her that she may be able to recollect some memories over time. Later that morning, Ito takes her outside into the chaotic streets of Iron City. When she sees Zalem floating above, she is well fascinated by the scene, and without remembering her name or her past, she asks Ito to give her a name. So he calls her Alita. As they continue to walk the city, Alita's attention is drawn to a high-octane sport known as Motorball that was playing on the screen, though Ito shows no interest in it. When he later steps away to buy food, Alita shares her snack with a stray dog as her attention then shifts to a wanted poster of a dangerous killer. Then suddenly, a large robotic enforcer, known as a Centurion, walks past and almost kills the dog. But Alita quickly steps in, as she displays lightning-fast reflexes and great awareness to save the dog from the danger. In the meantime, Hugo, a boy who happens to be walking past at that moment, quickly pulls her away from the scene and warns her to be more careful. He soon learns that Alita is a cyborg, and when Ito returns, he explains that she's new to the area. But as he leaves, Alita watches him with curiosity and interest. That evening, there was a deadly attack on a woman who was returning home from down the street, and Alita hears her scream. However, when she goes to check downstairs, she sees Ito just returning home and with blood stains on his arm. The next morning, while observing Ito at work, Alita notices his injury. The patient he was working on also recounts a dangerous experience he had with cyborg body part thieves, and also makes mentions of a serial killer, and this makes Ito warn Alita to stay on alert especially at night. When she goes outside the next day, Alita meets Chirin, a mysterious woman who regards her with peculiar interest. But her curiosity makes Alita feel unsettled, so she decides to walk away. Moments later, we see Chirin confronting Ito and asking why Alita now has the body of their late daughter. She accuses Ito of clinging too much to the past, as she suggests that they instead collaborate to create Motorball champions to fund her return to Zalem. But Ito rejects her suggestion, as he tells her that going to Zalem is not possible for them. In the end, Chirin eventually leaves to meet up with Vector, who was her boss. In the meantime, Alita joins Hugo and his friends for a Motorball game. Despite initially struggling in the game, her determination shines as she scores a point, impressing Hugo, who then offers her a ride home. As they ride on, the two start to bond and Hugo shares his dream of reaching Zalem one day. He then speculates that since Alita was found in the scrapyard, she must have ties to the famous city. That night, Alita notices Ito heading out again and decides to follow him. She sees him trailing a woman covered with a cloak and intervenes just when he prepares to strike. However, the two eventually realize too late that it was all a trap set by Grishka, a hulking cyborg and his allies. A fight soon breaks out and Ito quickly tells Alita to run away. But instead, she leaps into action and swiftly defeats one of the attackers with her raw strength. That was when Nishiana, the second attacker, finally reveals her cyborg enhancements and charges towards Alita. Meanwhile, Grishka overpowers Ito as he slams him against the wall to force him to watch the fight. However, Alita ends up showcasing her combat prowess as she easily defeats Nishiana with decisive blows. And when Grishka challenges her, Alita experiences a flashback of herself in a fierce battle in her past, where she is called 9-9. Drawing on these memories, she delivers a powerful axe kick that breaks Grishka's arm, which forces him to immediately retreat, and eventually allowing Ito and Alita to also leave the scene. On their way back, Ito reveals to Alita that he is actually part of the Hunter Warriors as he claims the bounty on Nishiana. He then explains that the funds support his clinic, where he provides free repairs to those in need. When Alita asks him, while she was getting fragmented memories of her past, Ito reveals that Alita's body once belonged to his late daughter, who had been wheelchair-bound. He had built the cyborg body to give her a new life, but one night, one of his patients who had lost his mind had tragically murdered her. This loss had shattered Ito and made Chirin to abandon him, and this had compelled him to register as a hunter-warrior in pursuit of justice. Then, Dr. Ito reveals a surprising truth about Alita's body as he tells her that her heart is powered by an antimatter microreactor, an ancient technology so advanced it could supply energy to all of Iron City for years. Since the era of the Fall, this kind of technology has ceased to exist, and this has eventually led Ito to believe that Alita is over 300 years old. Meanwhile, at the office, Vector tries to pressure Chiron to continue creating Motorball champions for him to aid his course. But their conversation is soon interrupted when Grishka bursts through the window, severely damaged and desperate for repairs. Though Chiron initially refuses, she reconsiders when Grishka tells her that his injuries were inflicted by Alita. When Chiron examines Grishka, she notices that he has been modified. When she asks Vector if he knew about this, he is initially indifferent, but his attitude quickly shifts when Grishka starts to speak with the voice of Nova, the powerful scientist from Zalem who has the power to send his message through any of his loyalists. So, through Grishka, Nova talks about Alita's impressive fighting skills, which he attributes to her mastery of Panzerkunst, which was an advanced combat technique. He is very upset that anyone still has such powers, and knowing this can become a threat to him, he orders Chiron to rebuild Grishka, and then instructs Grishka to bring Alita to him, dead. He further promises Chiron that if she obeys, he will ensure her safe passage to Zalem. Days later, Ito learns that Grishka has mysteriously been removed from the bounty list as he begins to suspect that someone powerful is trying to shield him. Eager to investigate this and possibly rediscover her forgotten past, Alita insists on becoming a hunter-warrior herself, but Ito forbids it. This annoys Alita and runs off to join Hugo to watch a Motorball match. As they enter the stadium, Hugo tells her that the Motorball champion wins a one-way ticket to the city of Zalem. During the game, one of the brutal players named Kanuba captures Chiron's attention with his deadly grind cutters. And midway through the game, Hugo is called by his friend Tanji for urgent business. After the match, Kanuba is ambushed by masked riders who quickly disable him using electric shocks. As they load him into a truck, it's revealed that Hugo and his friends are part of an underground ring who dismantle cyborgs to collect parts. Moments later, Vector arrives to commend their work, pays them, and instructs them to deliver the components to Chiron. But before leaving, he coldly finishes Kanuba off in order to make his ruthless leadership clear to everyone. The next day, Hugo and his friends take Alita outside Iron City's borders to the remnant of what was destroyed during the Great War. They tell her that the United Republic of Mars, or URM, was behind the conflict that had eradicated all sky cities except Zalem. When they show her a submerged URM warship, Alita instinctively recognizes it and dives into the water as she quickly navigates with ease through the ship underwater, and in the end, she finds a hidden chamber containing a powerful new cyborg body. She eventually retrieves it and takes it to Ito and requests that her body be transferred to the new one. However, Ito refuses as he tells her that the body is a URM berserker, which is a rare and deadly combat cyborg. Bonding her with the body could unlock, not just unthinkable power, but also uncontrollable violence. He fears for her safety, and so, Ito denies her request. Disappointed by this, Alita is left in frustration as she decides to set out alone to find her path herself. She immediately registers as a hunter-warrior, and accompanied by Hugo, they walk into a bar filled with bounty hunters. There, the proud Zapan tries to mock her, but Alita simply ignores the jeers and boldly calls for help from the others in defeating Grishka. When they all laughed it off, and Zapan continued his mockery, Alita was forced to retaliate when Zapan grabbed her. She slammed his head into a table before throwing him across the room. This eventually leads to a large brawl as she challenges them all with a promise that she will get their support if she comes out victorious. As the brawl rages on, Ito arrives and eventually manages to end the fight when he threatens to stop offering free repairs to the hunters. The room falls silent, but the tension soon returns when Grishka, who is now fully repaired, storms into the room. When he looks closely, Hugo notices that Grishka has been upgraded with grind cutters from Kanuba that they took down days ago. Even the hunter-warriors were hesitant to intervene, as they know Grishka no longer has any bounty on his head. And when the stray dog Alita had saved on the street growls at Grishka, he cruelly kills it. But even at this, McTeague, who is also one of the hunter-warriors and has a deep affection for dogs, still refuses to engage. This eventually provoked Alita, as she uses the dog's blood to mark her face as a sign of resistance, and then, she confronts Grishka with a vow to take him down for good. And when Grishka attacked with his grind cutters, Alita managed to evade his strikes. However, he soon tears a hole in the bar floor and goes underground as he dares Alita to follow. Alita fearlessly descends down with him, and that was where Grishka reveals that the space was once his home and that now it will serve as the place where he kills her. As the fight intensifies, Alita leaps at him, attempting to dismantle his arm once more. However, Grishka's upgrades prove formidable, making him tougher than ever. Although Grishka relentlessly attacks Alita with his new weapon, she manages to dodge his strikes, and as they continue, Alita lands a powerful kick, which briefly pushes him back, though she sustains a cut on her leg. Undeterred by this, Grishka presses on as he eventually forces Alita to take cover behind a pillar. As he continues to taunt her, he reveals that Nova is the one shaping Alita's destiny with the unfolding events. Upon hearing this, Alita charges at Grishka, but he viciously cuts her body apart with his grind cutters. In this dire moment, Alita recalls a memory of her martial instructor, Gelda, who had warned her that Nova is the true enemy. So drawing strength from this memory, Alita uses her remaining arm to strike as she pierces Grishka's eye, and before he can respond, Ito and Hugo arrive, accompanied by McTeague, who unleashes his cyborg dogs on Grishka as revenge for the stray dog he killed. Overwhelmed by the attack, Grishka retreats once more. However, Alita is badly injured. So, Ito carries her damaged body away, and as he passes by, Chirin sees them as she mocks him and accuses him of trying to replace their daughter with Alita. When Ito returns to his clinic, he is left with no alternative than to merge Alita with the berserker body, a process that adapts to her subconscious self immediately. When she wakes the next day, Alita thanks Ito as she marvels at her new abilities, including generating arc plasma on her fingertip. Although even Ito doesn't fully understand her control over it just yet, he reminds her that the body is just a tool and its ultimate purpose depends on her. Later on that day, Alita walks with Hugo as she shows off her newfound capabilities. Meanwhile, when Grishka returns to Chirin for repairs, Nova enters into Vector's body and orders Grishka to destroy Alita, calling her the last weapon of the Technarchy. After relaying his message and leaving Vector's body, Vector expressed his displeasure to Chirin about Nova's control and how he will set out to seek alternate plans of his own. So, he invites Hugo for a drink in his house as he commends his determination to reach Zalem. Hugo reassures him that he's working hard to earn the 1,000,000 credits needed, but Vector shifts the conversation to Alita and the possibility of getting the needed requirements if he can kill her. The following day, when Alita visits Hugo, he confesses that meeting her has made him reconsider leaving for Zalem. However, Alita encourages Hugo to pursue his dream and offers to help him gather the money needed. She even suggests selling her heart, believing they could replace it with something cheaper. But Hugo vehemently refuses as he tells her that he is very unwilling to let her sacrifice herself for him. Instead, he proposes that Alita compete in Motorball to become a champion and win a ticket to Zalem. Alita eventually agrees to this, and as she prepares for the game, Ito decides to add more safety measures to her gear, as he tells her that he is not sure of how to repair technology. Unknown to them, Vector has hired several hunter warriors to eliminate Alita during the match. In the meantime, Hugo confronts his friend Tanji, who is stealing parts from another cyborg. When Hugo tells him that he is considering quitting their illegal activities, there is an argument and Tanji accuses Hugo of changing because of Alita. This infuriates Hugo, who slams him against the wall. But their fight is soon interrupted by Zapan, who starts to talk about Hugo's criminal past and tells him that Alita might actually forgive him only if he were dead. However, when Hugo reminds him that he has no bounty on his head, this makes Zapan kill Tanji's victim and frame Hugo for the murder. When Tanji tries to defend Hugo, Zapan brutally kills him too, and in an attempt to escape, Hugo quickly sets off a fire Zapan, which manages to distract him as Hugo escapes. Meanwhile, as the Motorball match is about to begin, Dr. Ito notices something strange as he discovers that all of the other contestants are not regular players, but part of the deadly hunter warriors. Realizing that this must be a setup orchestrated by Vector, he rushes to warn Alita. But even at this, Alita remains determined to face the challenge as she decides to continue with the match. And as expected, the game quickly turns into a brutal ambush, but Alita uses her agility and combat instincts to evade the high-speed attacks, and even use the Motorball itself as a weapon. One by one, she dismantles her enemies, and at a point, she decapitates one of them, and this sends the crowd into a frenzy. While still in the game, Alita receives a call from Hugo begging for her help. Without hesitation, Alita exits the arena while still being pursued by the remaining hunter warriors. She eventually leads the two of them into colliding into each other, which kills one, and she then takes out the other by forcing him into an industrial grinder. In the meantime, Zapan finally catches up with Hugo, but as he prepares to kill him, Alita arrives in time to defend Hugo. However, Zapan quickly draws her attention to the fact that Hugo is now wanted for murder. In shock, Alita confronts Hugo, who eventually confesses to harvesting cyborg parts for pay. However, he insists that he never killed anyone. Although she feels betrayed by his secrecy, Alita chooses to shield him, and when Zapan tries to attack, Alita slams Zapan to the wall. That was when Zapan accused her of violating the Hunter Warrior Protocol, but Alita counters by telling him that she will be claiming the bounty for herself. However, Zapan suddenly seizes a moment of vulnerability and stabs Hugo as he hopes that Hugo will eventually bleed out. But Alita quickly carries him into a nearby building as the Centurion enforcers arrive. Inside, Hugo breaks down and confesses everything, as he tells her that all he ever wanted was to escape his past because of his love for her. At that moment, Chirin spots them, but before she could attack, Vector calls to ask for a status update. However, she has a change of heart and chooses to lie as she claims that Alita had escaped. This eventually buys Alita some precious time, and with Chirin's help, they make a plan. When she eventually comes back outside, Alita shows Hugo's severed head to the Centurions. But Zapan soon realizes that Hugo's head is connected to Alita's life support system. However, when he attempts to seize the head to confirm the kill, the Centurions misinterpret his actions as theft of bounty, and in the confusion, Alita acts fast, as she seizes Zapan's Damascus blade and slices part of his precious face off. The next day, at Ito's clinic, he successfully attaches Hugo's head to a cyborg body. Then he explains to Alita that the only way to reach Zalem is by becoming a Motorball champion. When Alita questions how Ito knows about this, that is when he reveals that he was born in Zalem, but that he was exiled with his family due to his daughter's illness. In the meantime, Vector confronts Chiron for letting Alita go. However, Chiron defends her actions, as she reminds him that she's a doctor and a mother, so she can't bring herself to kill another. In the end, she declares that she intends to quit their partnership, and even when Vector tempts her with the promise of Zalem, Chiron realizes that her desires lie elsewhere. However, as she starts to leave, her path is blocked by an approaching figure. Meanwhile, Alita, who is still determined to end Vector's schemes, storms into his office building. When the Centurions demand for her weapon, she effortlessly slices through them using Zapan's blade. Then she enters the room to face Vector as she accuses him of lying to Hugo. However, Vector claims he keeps his promises as he shows her Chiron's dismembered body parts. He explains that that is the only way to reach Zalem. Now fully furious, Alita prepares to confront Vector. However, Grishka suddenly arrives and attacks Alita from behind, leaving her injured. As she struggles to catch her breath, she catches another memory of her past as she remembers a battle against Zalem. She recalls seeing her team being wiped out by a barrier on the tube connecting Zalem to Iron City. As she hung on and on the verge of falling, Gelda had saved her and had urged her to make sure she completed the mission and destroyed Zalem. Drawing strength from this memory, Alita's body immediately starts to regenerate. And when Grishka strikes again, Alita swiftly counters and cuts off his grind cutters before slicing his body in half. As the fight ends, Vector starts to plead for mercy, but Alita demands to speak to Nova directly. Then, Nova starts speaking through Vector's body, and he commends Alita for surpassing his expectations and then tells her that he won't stop her, for now. However, when Alita tells him that she doesn't need his permission to live, Nova warns her that others might. Then, he mocks her and asks if she knows about Hugo's current location. Enraged by this, Alita kills Vector's body. But not quite long after, Ito informs Alita that Hugo has escaped from the lab and that he is trying to climb the tube leading to Zalem. She immediately realizes the danger he could be in and quickly rushes to stop him. She eventually finds him midway up the structure, but when she asks why he was doing this, Hugo tells her that he now believes that reaching Zalem is his only way out of his miserable life. But Alita immediately pleads with him to abandon the mission and stay with her instead. However, as he begins to weigh his options, Nova, who has been watching the whole events, activates the defense barrier that begins sliding down the tube. Before Hugo could act, it was too late as the sliding blades sliced through Hugo's body. Alita manages to grab and hold on to his remaining arm. But after telling her how sorry he was, Hugo's arm snaps, and he falls to his death, leaving Alita devastated. Towards the end of the movie, we see that months later, Alita has risen to fame as the Motorball champion, and that she has earned her place for a shot at Zalem. But as the crowd cheers, she stands tall in the arena, with her sword in hand and her eyes focused upward with a vengeful look as though she can see Nova, who is watching the unfolding events from Zalem, while silently awaiting their inevitable confrontation. And that's the story of the movie Alita, the Battle Angel. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment for us. Until next time, stay safe.